Parliament is supreme, those elected are ultimate masters. VP Dhankhar on Judicial Overreach debate. Doubling down on the ongoing Judicial Overreach debate, Vice President Dhankhar on Tuesday said that the elected representatives are the ultimate masters of constitutional content and there is no authority above Parliament. He also held that Parliament is supreme, while also citing past instance during emergency, how fundamental rights were suspended by the executive, and the decision was upheld by the top court. His remarks came days after he lashed out at the judiciary, stating that judges act as super parliament but have no accountability. Public representatives are severely accountable on occasion through elections. A prime minister who imposed an emergency was held accountable. Democracy is for the people and is a repository of safeguarding, it is that of elected representatives, the vice president said while addressing an event. Elected representatives are the ultimate masters as to what constitutional content will be. There is no visualization in the constitution of any authority above Parliament. Parliament is supreme. It is as supreme as every individual in the country, Dhankhar added. Video speaking at an event in Delhi University, Vice President Dhankhar VP India said, a Prime Minister, who imposed emergency, was held accountable in 1977. Therefore, let there be no doubt about it. Constitution is for the people and it's a repository of pic.twitter.com JXT84TLCS Press Trust of India PTI_News April 22, 2025. Nanan. The Vice President recalled how fundamental rights were suspended during the emergency imposed by Indira Gandhi and how the Supreme Court ruled in favor of the suspension of fundamental rights, overruling the verdicts of 9 high courts of the country. Why do we celebrate Constitution Day and Samvidhan Hatya Divas? Because in 1949 the Constitution was adopted. And that Constitution was disdained rugged in 1975. That time emergency was the darkest period in human history of the democratic world. I say darkest because the highest court of the land held, ignoring the verdict of 9 high courts. 9 high courts were uniformed that democracy's fundamental rights could never be put on hold, but that was done. What was held by the Supreme Court, executive of the day, is the sole arbiter of fundamental rights, it can suspend for as much time as it likes, Dhankhar detailed, a day after the top court observed during a hearing that allegations were being made against the court of interfering in the executive. As it is, we are alleged to have encroached upon parliamentary and executive functions, the SC said while hearing a plea seeking President's rule in West Bengal over recent violence. Nana. And during the 1975 emergency in India, civil liberties were suspended, and many political opponents were jailed. Various high courts across the country had ruled that even during an emergency, fundamental rights cannot be suspended. The Supreme Court, in a 41 majority verdict, overruled them in the infamous ADM Jabalpur case 1976, effectively allowing the then government to freeze fundamental rights of citizens, including the right to life and liberty. The top court had then held that during an emergency, the executive government could decide whether or not fundamental rights applied, something which was seen by many, including Justice H.R. Khanna, the lone dissenter in the case, as a betrayal of the Constitution and democratic values. Nanan. Last week, the Vice President ignited the judicial overreach debate, using strong words on the powers of the Supreme Court, and said that there cannot be a situation where courts direct the President. Swipe left for next video. In a landmark judgment, the top court had set a 3-month deadline for the President and governors to give assent to a legislation passed for the second time. There is a directive to the President by a recent judgment. Where are we heading? What is happening in the country? We have to be extremely sensitive. It is not a question of someone filing a review or not. We never bargained for democracy on this day. The President is called upon to decide in a time-bound manner, and if not, it becomes law. So we have judges who will legislate, who will perform executive functions, who will act as super parliament, and absolutely have no accountability because the law of the land does not apply to them, he had said. Latest blogs.